Imagine having everything humanity usually strives for: unlimited wealth, perfect health, constant entertainment, and an environment perfectly curated to shield you from the slightest discomfort. That was the reality for a young prince named Siddhartha. Yet inside this environment of absolute satisfaction, he found himself consumed by a profound, unexplainable isolation. He possessed every physical comfort imaginable, but as he stood alone in his gardens, he felt a haunting emptiness he couldn't name. For Siddhartha, living without any friction or struggle didn't lead to peace. With no obstacles to overcome and no reality to engage with, his daily life began to feel like a hollow sequence of events. Outside those palace walls, northern India was moving fast. By the 6th century BCE, ancient kingdoms were absorbing new territories and building substantial urban centers from brick and stone. Expanding trade routes connected distant cities, bringing an influx of wealth that elevated a powerful new class of merchants. This diagram shows how that new prosperity was distributed. The rigid caste system dictated every aspect of a person's future based on their birth. While new wealth pooled at the very top, the vast majority of people remained structurally locked at the base. At the same time, religious rituals were becoming increasingly elaborate and exclusive. Many ordinary citizens felt a growing disconnect from the very institutions that claimed to hold the keys to the divine. This combination of rapid growth and severe inequality prompted specific, difficult questions across society. People began asking why humans suffer and if it was actually possible to escape pain in an unfair life. This deeply unequal society was looking for a new way to understand their existence. They were waiting for a perspective that could explain the reality of human pain. That search for answers eventually centered on the Shakya Republic near the Himalayas, the birthplace of Prince Siddhartha Gautama. Shortly after his birth, visiting sages presented his father, King Suddhodana, with a prophecy that offered two distinct paths for the child's future. The first path was the one the king desired. Siddhartha would grow up to be a legendary conquering ruler, the greatest king the Shakyas had ever known. But the sages also saw a second possibility. If the boy witnessed the true nature of the world, he would abandon his throne to become a spiritual teacher who would influence the lives of people for generations. King Suddhodana decided to stop that second prophecy from coming true. He believed that if his son never encountered suffering or mortality, the boy would never develop the curiosity to question life or seek spiritual answers. The king ordered the construction of a specific artificial reality. He turned the royal estate into a golden prison, designed to filter out any information that might trigger a philosophical crisis. In this schematic of the palace complex, we see its defensive layers. Any sign of aging was physically blocked. Sick servants were immediately removed, effectively deleting sickness. Funerals were rerouted far away, so his son never knew death existed. To keep the prince's mind occupied, the king provided constant sensory distractions, endless non-stop music, mesmerizing elegant dancers, and instant gratification for every whim. The king weaponized this luxury. He used constant physical pleasure as an anesthetic, designed to numb the prince's curiosity and keep him blind to the existence of pain. But this artificial reality had a core weakness. Perfection is unnatural, and maintaining absolute control over a human's perception is a difficult system to sustain. As Siddhartha became an adult, his awareness began to bypass the king's filters. He started noticing subtle, structural cracks in his perfect world. He noticed the mandatory smiles of the palace staff looked forced. In moments like this, he could see the exhaustion and strain beneath the performance, revealing that their happiness was a rehearsed script. This forced happiness didn't stop Siddhartha from doubting his reality. It made him more suspicious. Every perfect detail of the palace began to feel like a mask hiding something darker. Siddhartha eventually realized that while the palace could provide absolute physical comfort, it could not provide the truth about why he felt so empty. He understood that the answers to his internal questions were hidden outside. To find them, he would have to leave the safety of the walls and directly confront the suffering his father had worked so hard to hide. The historical irony is that the king's extreme measures to prevent a spiritual awakening were the very things that made it inevitable. The pressure of the golden prison forced Siddhartha to seek the truth, By leaving the artificial light of the palace to face the darkness of reality, Siddhartha walked away from a throne. That choice allowed him to become the philosopher who would eventually offer answers